Around 5 years ago, I started construction of my giant Island of Sodor West route. I recently finished revamping it to include new locations, new features, and most importantly, new ground textures. I wanted to make a video focusing on the route as a route rather than part of the lore of Sodor to mark 4,000 subscribers. I thought I'd go into detail about how I built it, what influences I used, the mistakes and repairs that have gone into it, and what my plans for the future of the route are. This route is one of 3 sister routes that collectively make up about 75% of Sodor. The plan is to one day merge all 3 of these together, but that is still a very distant idea. So yeah, let's get into the Island of Sodor West. So I thought I'd start right at the beginning. I started using trains in very early 2020. At this point, I was still very young and didn't have a single computer I'd use. My dad works with laptops for his job and would give me old ones he would get as part of that. It wasn't until 2020 that I got an actual gaming laptop and started using trains on it. I wasn't really that experienced in building routes at the time, so what I'd do was merge other creators' routes and fill in the gaps. I would usually use Wildnorwester's old routes at the time, as well as SI3D's, Cog Railway 3D, and Tom K. Routes' various routes. I also didn't know what the map of Sodor really looked like, so I'd just kinda do my own thing. A lot of the routes were TV series based, so my lines would start at Knapford. Notably at the time, my editing software was on an iPad since that's what I filmed all my modeling content on. So I'd have to export all of my files onto there. I filmed quite a few small reel-style videos since I couldn't export much from computer to iPad. For the music, I'd straight up just play it on my phone and record the sound since I didn't know how to download YouTube videos at the time. This era of wacky routes and even wackier filming came to an end in about 2021 when I started to figure out what the Island of Sodor was supposed to look like in the Railway series. It soon bothered me that the route of the series that I had been filming differed so wildly from the Railway series route. So I decided to design my own Tidmouth, set in the 1920s, so I could start the Railway series from scratch. I finished it in late 2021 and started moving along the west coast. You can see this early iteration of the western Sodor route in the first episodes of the current series. I got all the way from Arlesburg in the north to Crosby in the south. I then created a few other routes for other parts of Sodor. I made ones of Elsbridge through Farquhar, Henry's Tunnel, Crovan's Gate, and a little later, Edwards Branch Line, and Peel Godred. I updated the coastal route in 2022 to be up to 1931, and it was then that I spotted a huge issue. On Audrey's map, each square represents a 5-mile by 5-mile section. On trains, each square represents 500 meters by 500 meters. This means I inadvertently made my route less than 1/16 the size it actually should have been. So I decided to rescale it. I started by noting that each block would be 1/2 mile by 1/2 mile, which is a bit smaller than the 1/3 mile each block actually is. By using this scale, I could more accurately build Sodor. I then cut the route into a number of smaller segments. Tidmouth Town and Harbour, the Sheds, which was a route by Ravenshire Works, Hulltraw, Arlesburg, and Knapford through Crosby. I then added plenty of extra space in between these sections. I then remerged the Tidmouth, Shed, and Knapford through Crosby sections together to form a more spacious southern corner of Sodor. It was still way under scale, even with the slightly inaccurate way I measured it, but still a lot closer than what it had started out as. After I finished this segment, I also expanded the Elsbridge through Farquhar section to be more accurate during the fall of 2023. By November, I had turned to expanding the Brenda Peninsula. I had finished it by January 2024, but then a computer malfunction wiped out the route. All of the buildings and rail placements were in the same place, but all the ground textures and ground heights were wiped out. It took until April before I was finished repairing this problem. All the way until the most recent update, the Brendan Peninsula still didn't look quite right compared to the rest of the route. I also built Marin through Gordon's Hill. This was done by repurposing the TSI's Gordon's Hill and redoing the textures to fit the style of the rest of the route. I had also originally used the ancient SI3D version of this segment of the island. It wasn't until April of 2024 that I merged the coastal route, Ellsbridge to Farquhar route, Brendan Peninsula, and Marin all together into one solid western island of Sodor route. I then added the old haul trot section. Notably, during all of these expansions and redevelopments, I replaced the old G trees with the standard Trains 2022 trees. When I started this process of expanding the route, I was doing the last parts of Season 1 of the Railway series. By the time I had finished, I was well into the Edward the Blue Engine and Gordon the Big Engine parts of Season 2. With these sections done and updated to 1953, I turned to filling in the route's gaps. The biggest section that needed to be filled in was the dry-off through Toy-Wreck area on Thomas's branch line and the mainline section between Crosby and Wellsworth. It was during this development that I decided to add a narrow-gauge mineral railway on the western side of Sodor, darting between Wellsworth and Crosby. This would of course become the Kalinidae line. About 80% of this new area was a rural countryside, for which I just spammed the already used Grass 20 texture on trains. At the time, I didn't mind how this looked, but now I absolutely hate it. It looked so lined and ugly. By the summer of 2024, the route was complete just in time to be updated for 1954. Most of that update had to do with Knapford, which I've talked about in its lore video. But also I started experimenting with changing the textures and other little details to look more realistic. However, after updating the route to 1954, I turned my attention to the center and eastern routes, which were needed for much sooner episodes. From August 2024 all the way until October 2025, I hardly touched the western route. I ended up redoing Peel Godred twice, and it was in the second time that I nailed my ground texture technique. I finished Peel Godred, which I had expanded all the way to Killabon and renamed the center route in June of 2025. And then I completed the merge between the Vickerstown through Barrow and Skarloey Railway route in October, renaming this to the eastern route. Now I had a west, center, and east situation with my routes. I finally turned my attention back to the western route in November of last year. For one, I needed to update the route from 1956 to 1960 through 1962. I also decided to implement the two newest changes to how I made routes: new ground textures and a ton more grass, especially along the trackside. I divided the route into sections and then went through them one by one. I started near Halltraw and made my way all the way to Tidmouth, Knapford, the Elm Valley, before doing the Brendan Peninsula. It was here where I mainly concentrated my efforts, because Brendan still bore the marks of the previous malfunction, especially around Sudrian. It was the worst looking section on the route, but now it's just as amazing as everywhere else. I finished this update in January 2026. Now, for the first time, all three of my huge Island of Sodor routes are the same quality. I am super happy with how this route looks, and I can't wait for all of you to see it in new episodes. So what's next for the route? Well, I'll be continuing to update it as the years in the series roll on. It is updated until 1962, but it will need changes for everything from 1963 as new developments within the canon take place in that year. However, for now I'm working on Culdy Fell on the center route, which is almost doubling the size of that section. Once this huge expansion is done, I will turn my attention north. I plan to cover the entire section of Sodor from Arlesburg through to Arlesdale and Ulstead in a number of smaller routes before merging them onto the western route and filling in the gaps. I'm doing it this way because I want to make 1926, 1956, and 1966 versions of the Mid-Sodor/Arlesdale railways, and I don't want to have to redo the entire area for each. Once the northern expansion is done, I will merge this route with the central route. I am hoping to wrap all of this up by late 2026/early 2027. But all that is firmly within the future. Right now I want to look back on the past. I started all my trains content 6 years ago with small reel style videos. Now, I would like to do a modern one for all of you. I dedicate this song to you all. Without you, I wouldn't be where I am today. Thank you so much for 4,000 subscribers.
Picture a land where the sky is so blue, a storybook land of wonder, a magical island just waiting for you. Island of Sodor will make your dreams come true. Imagine a place where the sun always smiles, the valleys are green as can be. Friends that you love are all waiting for you. Island of Sodor will make your dreams come true. Children, follow the dream to a land of make-believe. To your dream, over the hills and mountains. Look for the skies with stars in their